Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Chat, Stats, and Fun Facts. It's another season preview. This time, we're talking about Federico Redondo. Saur. First thing that comes to mind when I say Redondo.
Untapped potential, maybe. Or unrealized potential, maybe. Anything to do with potential, because that's all there is at this point in time with Federico Redondo. It's a lot of potential, not a lot of realized substance. Am I wrong? Maybe, but that's what this conversation's about.
Here's my fun fact. He is the second most expensive defensive midfielder in the history of the league at the time of his purchase. Second most expensive ever. The only defensive midfielder that was more expensive was Michael Bradley back in 2014, who was coming off success in Europe. That's high expectations, right? And so he comes in, and this is Tata Martino's guy. He starts basically every game he's available. He does have an injury a couple games after he got here, but he finishes with 25 games played, 23 starts, 1,892 minutes, 7 yellow cards, 2 goals, and 3 assists. Both of those goals came on July 17th against Toronto. So most of his goal production came in very limited amounts. It wasn't like he was a consistent goal threat or anything like that. First question, is he good?
That's a really harsh question to ask. Again, I think he's good on paper. Every time I've seen him play, I can see there's something there, but I don't know how he gets to be that complete player that we've paid $8 million for. There's a lot of flaws in his game. You can see that when you watch the game and you watch him specifically during the game. There's a couple of good things that he does. I think he plays good, simple football. He can be combative, get stuck in when he needs to. But I think the role that this team wants him to play, the issues that come with him partnering with Sergio Busquets, really amplify some of the flaws in his game. And he's going to really have to refine some of the more unpolished side of his game, get his positioning right, make those long passes more frequent, improve his just general passage of play and just general volume of passes that he makes during the games. Then I can say that he's good. At this point in time, if you want me to be blunt and if you want me to be direct, I think he's average. I don't think he's good.
The tools are aplenty. He is long. He's hard to dribble around. He's a big body. He's good on set pieces. He is a good passer. He is technical. He is rangy. He works hard. He's fast. I don't want to say he's quick, but he's fast over distance. And he has a little bit. I mean, he can put a ball in the back of the net. Sometimes he can put a nice pass in, and he works really hard. Like, there's so much to like about him as a player. The tools are like oozing, right? And those tools at that size is actually pretty rare. And so you can see why the price tag is what it was. But I think defensively, he gets caught out in the wrong position a lot. And that was my impression last year. And I think when you compared him to Yannick Bright, you could see it was like night and day. When you compare him to Sergio Busquets, it's like night and day, their ability to be in the right position at the right time. And it's crazy, but that is necessary for a defensive midfielder. And so last year, I kind of came to the conclusion that he's not one of the 3 best midfielders, that those 3 are Yannick Bright, Busquets, and Diego Gomez. And in an ideal world, we have an entire roster that allows those 3 to be our midfield. And I was going to kind of put Federico Redondo on the back burner until 2025. Well, here we are, and I'm ready for it. The preseason is just starting. Like, I'm excited to see what he can be this year. I think there is a very real possibility that he takes a huge step this year in terms of what he brings to Inter Miami, how he affects this team, how he impacts winning games. We need to see it, though. Just like with Diego Gomez last year, just like with Toto Aviles, just like all of these young players, we need to see it in game before we can actually rely on it comfortably. He's going to get plenty of opportunities. You mentioned it. He needs to partner well with Sergio Busquets. That's going to be a huge aspect to his game time. Maybe we should head into that conversation now, but I guess I want to answer, is he good? I think he has all the tools to be good, and that the things that stop him from being a really, really impressive player are mostly mental and mostly things that are about more minutes on the pitch, more experience, more film watching, things like that. Just being in the right place at the right time. He doesn't have that instinctually like other players do, but I think he can build it. I think that's one of the things that young players can improve upon in great leaps and with great bounds. So I think he can be an incredible player for Inter Miami. But where we left off in 2024, I think we left something to be desired. And at that price tag, you would have expected him to come in and be a monster. He wasn't that, but maybe that's in him, and maybe he can be the monster in the midfield this year.
Yeah, and I think you've absolutely nailed it. He has the right frame for a defensive midfielder. He has the right profile for a defensive midfielder. He has all the tools available to him. But what you need for a defensive midfielder, the singular most important thing, is positioning. And I think the biggest flaw in Redondo's performance is his positioning. There's another question to be had, actually, and this could be a completely long conversation. Is he even a defensive midfielder? What's his best asset? Where does he fit in this midfield? That can be an entire podcast in itself. So I completely agree with you. He has the profile to be a defensive midfielder. He will eventually get there. He's still young, but he needs to start showing that, because his price tag is really high for him to spend his time on the bench, right? His price tag demands that he starts the game. He starts in that midfield, and he does some things really, really well. He's a good carrier of the ball, but I think he needs to develop a little bit more in terms of his physical presence on the pitch, whether that's building up or bulking up or just, being more assertive on the pitch. And as I said, just be a little bit more confident on the ball. It's going to come. He's playing with one of the best defensive midfielders the game of football has ever seen. So he's going to develop that side of his. But I think positioning is a big issue for him. He tends to drift out of position very often. It happens less when he's playing in a more attacking role and he's trying to play with the goal in front of him or the ball in front of him. But yeah, we'll see how he develops over the next 6 months. But this is the do or die season for him. If he doesn't perform well this season, it's going to raise a lot of question marks about his, asset to this team.
Yeah, there's no reason he wouldn't be good this year. Like, he's not moving to a new country. He's not joining a new team. He's in the middle of the season. Like, he's got everything he needs to be successful. He's got a coach that's very comfortable with him that he's worked with before. So there's no reason for him to not be a huge success. I think you mentioned a really interesting point about him potentially not being a defensive midfielder. I think because of his tools, that's where he wants to get to. I think that's where maybe his highest ceiling is. But I agree with you right now. And when we were talking about last year, I liked him better higher up the pitch, just because you could mask some of his defensive deficiencies with him not having those responsibilities. And then you can just sort of unleash him for what he does have and all the tools higher at the pitch. Javier Mascherano knows Redondo. He brought him to the Olympics, worked with him a lot. He was a big player for him in the pre-Olympic qualifiers. That relationship, though, is interesting to me. We saw Tata Martino be very loyal to the players he brought in and the players that he told them, you're going to get minutes under me at Inter Miami. And that's part of why they came. And he was loyal to that. That doesn't exist with Javier Mascherano, I believe. So is he going to just start every game because he's an $8.5 million signing? Is he just going to start every game because he's Argentinian and he has a relationship with Javier Mascherano? Or is he going to have to earn those minutes when he's competing and combating against Yannick Bright and Sergio Busquets, going back into the midfield probably this year after playing a lot at center back? Talasco, Segovia, Benjamin Kermaski, David Ruiz. Like, there's a lot of quality options there that he's going to have to, that can play the same position as him. And I think this year he's going to have to win those minutes, not just be given those minutes. Do you think that he's going to be a guy that starts every game, or is he going to have to earn it in a way that maybe he didn't last year?
I don't think any player on this team barring Lionel Messi and Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba, maybe, deserve a starting spot from the get-go. Everyone has to earn their spot. And
Well,
Luis
okay, but
Suarez is in that,
it's
but
not just
also
about
Redondo.
it's not just about what should happen, right? We don't know how Javier Mascherano operates. So, like, it could be very much that he's very loyal to his guys. We don't know that yet.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I can't answer that question, right? We can only
Yeah.
speculate what should happen. And that, for me, I think he has plenty of competition in and around him. And I think the nature of the league is such that if he's not performing in that midfield, if he's not doing well, there's a lot of options that this team has. And Javier Mascherano will be forced to use those options. And I can see some of these other players displacing Redondo if he doesn't put in good performances. So, yeah, I think he's going to have to put in really good performances, and loyalty is not going to get him that far. Even if I don't know if that was a thing or not last season with Tata Martino, it seems like it was, but I think it's going to be really difficult, and the competition is definitely there.
Okay, can he take the next step? That's the final question I really want to get into. He has a coach that is very familiar with his game, and you would think can manipulate his responsibilities to get him to be what he needs to be, or to help him develop in the ways that he needs to develop. It's a coach that is younger and can, you would hope, relate to these younger players more and help them grow in a positive way. And now he's in year 2. He's been in South Florida for a long time. He is very comfortable with all his teammates, or all of the remaining teammates. Like, there's no excuses for not being good. So can he take the next step? That's the question.
I think you've absolutely nailed it. I would say 70% of the responsibility is on the coaching staff to try and get the best out of Federico Redondo. He has all the tools available. You can't misprofile him. If you misprofile a young player and you constantly play him in a position that he's not just uncomfortable in, but doesn't suit the role, like if he doesn't suit the Sergio Busquets role, you can't constantly play him there. So I think he has the tools to take the next step. He is going to get better. He's going to get a lot more comfortable in terms of where his place is in this team. It's just a matter of what role and responsibilities he's given. You have to maximize his strengths and minimize his weaknesses as much as you can. And that's the responsibility of the coaching staff. If he's not able to play that 6th role, you have to realize that quickly and get the best out of him in a different position, because I think there may be a conversation to be had about how Federico Redondo might be a better box-to-box midfielder.
Okay, but no, he's 21. He still has, there's a lot of it is on him as a player to develop and improve. Like, that feels like a cop out, right? You're 28-year-old veteran who is fully formed. That's a player that the coach has to manipulate into ways that he can be his best. But a young player has to continue to improve on his own. And yes, the coaching staff has a responsibility to help him improve, but like, that's the film study. That's the being on the training pitch and communicating more efficiently with his co-midfielders. And so I think this is a huge part of this is on Federico Redondo. Let's get into expectations for 2025. Our over-under is 4.5 goals. We talked about him being played higher up the pitch. I don't know if that's going to fit with the system that Javier Mascherano wants to play. We haven't seen enough yet to really say, but it is potentially, in our opinion, in Redondo's best interest to play higher up the pitch. He had 2 goals last year, but he only played about half a season. Can he hit 5 goals? The over-under is 4.5. What do you think?
Yeah, over 4.5. I think he's going to score a couple of goals more. Maybe even hit a number 10. Who knows?
I agree. Do you think he's going to hit that next level? Do you think he's going to have like a Diego Gomez level jump?
Yes. I want to believe in my players. So yes, I think so.
I agree. I think it's there, but I think it might take a little, like, I'm not sure we're going to see it game 1 like we did with Diego Gomez, but I think 2 months into the season when we might think, Redondo's had 3 really impressive games in a row. I think that's going to happen for him this season. I think he's going to be worth the money by the time we get halfway through the season. We're going to be saying that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can be in 2025. All right, guys, thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Since our first viewer, sharing this with you all has been the very best part. So from the beginning until the end, thank you for being a part of this, and have a wonderful day.